All right, that's it. Welcome. I'm going to call the meeting to order. One thing I would say at the start of the meeting is that if you are uncomfortable making a comment, like vocally or whatever, there are comment cards at this table here. You're more than welcome to fill those out and answer. Questions can be answered that way as well. We will. After each topic, we'll go to the council here for questions and comments, and we'll go to you all out there to keep it in the sort of a rhythm to it. But please try to make your comments to 2 minutes or less. There will be a little ring-a-ding-ding. It's a chime. If you are like at a minute and a half. Can we even hear that? What?
Don't be so formal. There's only a small group of.
I understand that.
Thank you.
I can make a bit of a different one.
All right. Maybe we'll make it an obnoxious sound. But anyway, if you hear a sound, that's what it means. But so we'll start by doing the Pledge of Allegiance and this best up.
Right over there, right behind you.
You guys are so cute. God, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Let's keep working on that one.
Yeah. Thank you. Can we do a roll call?
Yes. Representative Coach Sticks. Yes. Present. Representative Nominson. Present. Representative Robel.
Here.
Representative Pereira.
Here.
Representative Van Dyke. Here. Representative Nichols.
Here.
Representative Clis. Here. Alternate Thayer. Here. And Chair Marquez de la Plata.
Here. Thank you. So the first thing we'll do is everyone has an agenda, so we need a council member to make a motion to approve the agenda. And then we'll do roll call.
Make a motion to approve.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Now sometimes if there's a conflict of interest that anyone on the council has to anything in the agenda, which I think is unlikely this time.
Yes, it's great.
But now's the time to make that known. We're on number 4. We have no correspondence. So now we're going to move to approve the February 2023 minutes.
I have just one thing, there's a typo in section 8 of the minutes. It says Supervisor Hopkins answered the possibility of bringing state legislatures to a joint MAC meeting, and I think we're doing that legislative tours,
Oh, yeah.
not the whole legislature.
Anyone else? She that's a good catch.
I second to approve the consent.
All right, I think, can we get a vote to approve the agenda with the change of the grammatical error? Yep,
Yes.
Yeah.
I
okay. So if there's anyone in the council that has a comment or something we want to say that is not on the agenda, now it's time to speak freely. Vesta.
I know, always got something to say. Couple of things. One is I posted up on the LRRMAC Facebook page about this broadband outreach, and it has a deadline for comments, which is April 28th. That's an important deadline for getting back to them about your input. You want input for them about where to get broadband, make sure they have it. Another is that the Forestville is having a town hall on the 20th at Forestville School, and our topics are downtown crosswalks and sidewalks and the housing element, the affordable housing element, which is hitting us all really hard in terms of those locations. That's important. And the other, which I was trying to find the exact locations of, Fire Safe Center or Safe of West County has gotten a grant and obtained 4 chippers that are now owned by 4 fire stations. And Forestville and Guerneville are 2 of the fire stations, and is Casadero one of them?
No.
No, okay. Monterey and Occidental, that's right.
Correct.
Those are the 4 fire stations that actually own a chipper. It has to be run by the firefighters themselves because it's a dangerous piece of equipment. But neighborhoods can literally schedule a time when you're gonna do a cleanup and you get everything lined up properly, and they will come by unless they're fighting a fire. They will come by with their chipper and chip it all up and leave you some nice chip mulch. So that makes the whole chipping thing a heck of a lot easier than what it's been in the past. And I think, is there anything else going on that I need to tell you about? I don't think so. There you go. Keep the Lower River Mac Facebook page as a place for a lot of information, because I still get a lot of press releases from the county just because of my years for the Gazette. So I post a lot of them up there. And then we also have a link someplace. Do you have those papers for the Lynn's newsletter? And that's a really important newsletter to just sign yourself up for it, and you'll get in touch with all the things that are going on for us in our area. Thank you.
Okay, Fire Safe Guerneville will be the beneficiary of this Saturday's Sisters Bingo in Santa Rosa. And I happen to have 3 tickets available for $40 donation. If anybody would like to go, please see me after the meeting or reach out to me, first come, first served.
Should be a wild night.
Joe?
An appreciation for anybody who was involved in enabling us to have a hybrid meeting and be able to, for people to stream the meeting at home. Debbie, Leo, whoever's been involved in that, thank you very much.
Oh, is it actually working again?
Yeah, we have 3 of these online right now, and so we're definitely overselling it, because we want to make sure everything works, but we're definitely trying to figure out.
It's a test meeting.
Fantastic.
Mike,
I'd like to just open the discussion a little bit more on the broadband outreach.
You good?
That is a meeting that is an in-person meeting at the Veterans Hall in Santa Rosa on the 28th. The meeting starts at 10 a.m. It's a structured meeting until about noon, and then there's a breakout session for workshops for the folks to discuss situations in their own communities. And we'll have representatives from California Public Utilities Commission, State Department of Technology, and California Emergency Technology Fund. So it's a good opportunity to step forward, and there's some information over on the table, I believe, for registering for the event on Eventbrite. And that concludes my comments.
Thanks, Mike.
Just real quick, for anybody who's interested in my district, there's a meeting at the senior center this Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. Which is being sponsored by Russian River Park and Rec. And the whole point is to redesign and reopen the playground at the corner of Beach and Orchard in Vacation Beach, which has been closed and shuttered for about a year and a half now due to a sewage break and reconfiguration of the sewage, the transfer station, and there was a big leak. And anyway, so they're hoping people will show up and help just redesign our playground and get it open. My kids grew up in that playground.
and I do know that they really want people to attend and participate and give input into to what this is going to ultimately be.
I saw on the Zero Waste Sonoma website that Guerneville has an event for household hazardous waste collection on May 2nd. And Monte Rio has an e-waste collection April 22nd and 23rd. So sign up and get rid of some of your stuff that you don't need.
Do you have to sign up or can you just show up?
The Guerneville one is 5-2. That's household hazardous waste, and then e-waste is 4/22 to 23 Monterey.
So you said sign up, do you have to sign up, or you just show up?
No, you have to sign up for
But
it.
you have to sign up.
You have to log on, you have to sign up for a time, I think, for
Oh.
zero waste cinema. So if anyone is interested, yeah, zero waste cinema.
I had a question about the broadband outreach. Is that the only workshop is gonna be during regular working hours between 10 and 2:30?
That is correct.
So, okay, as far as, we're looking at something that's called a equity and access. That's not equitable nor accessible.
We certainly realize that. We have no power within Sonoma County. The state told us the date that we had to have the meeting. They have 17 meetings throughout the state, and they're all held during the weekdays. None will be
I
held on
suggest we
weekends.
all get a hold of broadband Sonoma County or whomever and email them and say that this is not living up to their expectation or our expectations of what equitable or.
You're certainly welcome to.
You're right.
All right, anyone have any comments of anything that's not on the agenda? Oh, John, she was.
What?
But
Everybody
no-
wants to know. No, you guys can all go first. I've got plenty of time.
Would you like me to be?
Right there. That's
You're
good,
done?
yeah.
I'm gonna try to make this in 2 minutes, so bear with me. This is specifically, it's a bigger issue and it really belongs with the Board of Supervisors, but I'm gonna start here because I know that there's a lot of information going around right now in the community. And it's about the Russian River County Sanitation District and their proposed increase. The budget prepared by the Sonoma County Water Agency is not sustainable for the existing 3,200 ratepayers. A municipal service review on Russian River County Sanitation District was completed on January 9th, 2023, to allow 21 units on Georges Highway to join the sanitation system. The study failed to note any efficiencies needed of the Sonoma Water Agency. Annual Russian River County Sanitation District budget proposals have not included reduction ideas, as do most businesses, which expenditures exceed revenue. An audit of the Sonoma Water Agency's district services charge should be completed to determine equity. The charge is based on a direct labor plus overhead per the unaudited actuals. The Russian River ratepayers, are they paying a higher percentage of overhead per hour charged back to the ratepayers? So in other words, they're paying the direct labor plus overhead for Sonoma Water Agency. And we're talking 3,200 ratepayers paying that. And also at my lift station, I've noticed over the last couple of years, when something needs to happen, there's 3 gentlemen coming instead of 1 as in the past. And so what are we being charged, and is that equitable? The March 6th permit Sonoma mitigated negative declaration draft environmental document listed no mitigation to cover the expenses of adding the new Russian River 108-room lodge, public restroom, pool, spa, etc. to the sanitation system. I believe this was requested last year by the MAC, asking Sonoma Water if that lodge were to come in, is there a mitigation before we add them on the sewer system? And I know that you asked that last year, but I don't know if it was ever addressed. Also, the housing element will significantly increase the needs to the Russian River Sanitation District. So one more thing. There should be a plan for an affordable, sustainable sewer system in place. Average retirees get a 2% cost of living adjustment, well short of those annual 9% tax fee increases that are suggested. I think they said for the next 20 years. So that's all I need to say.
Thank you. Don?
You want?
We appreciate that, thank you.
Oh, you were have your hand up.
So we're dealing with a very serious situation in Monterey. Leo is very aware of it already. We have dangerous people living in an encampment directly below our house. It goes unchecked by the county. Over and over and over again, on a daily basis, we're dealing with crime. We're dealing with people breaking into our house. We're dealing with people assaulting us. We're dealing with people who vandalized our property. We're dealing with people painting swastikas downtown in Monterey. We're dealing with people dumping their waste all over the place. The county is doing absolutely nothing about this. Then on top of that, we have code enforcement. When we complain about code enforcement, and you know exactly what I'm talking about, Leo, and so does Linda, we have proof that Tyra Harrington at code enforcement, working in conjunction with Todd Hoffman and Jesse Cable, are breaking into our house and putting fraudulent liens on our property. And we can prove this point blank that these are fraudulent liens in retaliation for us complaining about these dangerous encampments. I'm on the phone every day with the sheriff. I'm on the phone every day with the district attorney about these issues. I have videos of us being assaulted. I have videos of our tires being slashed. I have videos of this insane woman living in a trailer right next to our property, jumping over our fence, defecating in our hot tub. Now, the county code is that you cannot live in a trailer on private property. However, the county comes after us for a teeny little greenhouse that is within code. So they've committed fraud. You have no explanation for that. And I'm dealing with other people in the community who have the exact same experience. You know that Tyra Harrington is involved in fraud. You know that. Linda knows it. The Board of Supervisors knows it. You guys are as guilty as they are. You have nothing to say. We've shown you the evidence that they've committed fraud. Any response?
You don't have the back and forth normally here, but I'm happy to just give up quick. I can do it later, but I mean, I think, I've said to you many times, so many times that you're tired of hearing it, that the sheriff and the DA are the place to go when there's a safety issue, you call 911. Right?
Fraud, dude. You guys are involved in fraud.
Also, we've connected you to the city attorney. I've given you the whistleblower
Dude,
hotline.
He wrote me a page-and-a-half letter that says, yes, we violated your rights and committed fraud and trespass against you. Sue us.
I can take all the actions that you're.
Leo, hold on a second.
Yeah.
It's okay to have a discussion, but can we not bring it up to that level? I mean, that would be very nice.
I've got a video of a deranged, mentally ill person running up into my face and spitting in my face. And she's right back, living right next to us. We have video of her defecating in our hot tub. We have video of her slashing our tires. And in exchange, what we get is we get retaliated by code enforcement for raising our hands and saying we're being victims of crime. And they know all about it. I've been interviewed by the FBI about this. And you can tell me I'm wearing a tinfoil hat and I'm some crazy guy. Wrong. I'm a multi-million-dollar property owner. I'm highly educated. I've lived in this area my entire life. They came after my elderly family because we have money.
Thank you for your comment.
Yeah, we'll be back. We'll be back.
So sorry, man, has to suffer.
Anyone else? John?
Can I talk now?
Yeah.
Please.
Well, let's take a moment and rest after that. I printed the agenda out today and it's not the same agenda you're on. So I was wondering what's going on. The agenda I have says that minutes was number 1 on the consent calendar.
That's because I read the wrong page.
But minutes can't be on the consent calendar. Nobody can change the minutes if they're on this consent calendar. That's why nobody has the minutes on the consent calendar. I also read the minutes from the last meeting or whatever there is there. I was at the meeting and I read those minutes. I couldn't understand anything that happened at the meeting. I was there for at least a half an hour. There were many, many people discussing the roads, drainage, etc. In the minutes, it says that some people were speaking about those issues. There was no names of anybody that spoke. There was nothing there. So I have an old agenda from October 21st, and I wanted to read off the minutes and that one to let somebody know how minutes are written. Public comment, I'll use first names. Jackie made a couple of paragraphs. Vera made another statement. Robert made a statement. Herb Cohenshopper made a statement. They're all named, and what they said are all in here. Every person that spoke. Now, why, I didn't give you my name when I came up here, because why would I? You're not gonna put it in the minutes anyway. These gotta change. We gotta make it so that the minutes reflect what's going on. In the minutes, I think one or two of you spoke during the whole meeting last time. Hope you read the minutes, and I saw you approved them. Many people spoke from the board. None of that's in the minutes. So hopefully you can correct that and we can, do minutes like you wanna. I don't know who does this minutes, but I'll leave it over here with the deal of the minutes that I printed out from one here, and you can work on it. Now, I'll let Lori speak now.
The gentleman that was here that became upset, very seriously upset. Seemed like there were not many people in the room who had an idea of how maybe deal with someone who has an issue like that. That disappoints me because I know many of you. You should be better at taking and handling that kind of situation. You've decided to go to 2 minutes of public comment. It used to be 3. There are 6 people in the room, what there were. And you have a formalism that is not conducive to generating confidence among these 6 people who you outnumber. And perhaps that illustrates the effectiveness of your outreach, or it might illustrate the indifference that people have to who and what you think you are. John's pointing out about the agenda, the minutes, etc., is important. We have previously asked, how is the agenda generated? Who approves it? What is the process? I asked that question. I did not get an answer. And now I am accustomed, trained, not to expect answers, not to expect dialogue, not to expect the ability to talk to the local representative of the community where I live.
Thank you.
Well, thank you too, buddy.
Okay, now, Leo, do you wanna? Leo's gonna cover for Linda tonight.
I will cover, but let's get back in the habit of also checking online. So if any of the online folks.
Oh, sorry.
If you'd like to raise your hands, you are. We're gonna try to actually connect into the meeting this week. If you'd like, you can raise your hand. Otherwise, we'll move forward.
Did anyone raise their hand?
No, I don't think we can move forward.
Okay. Okay, Leo, you're up.
Sure, so I was just gonna highlight some of the items that are coming up on the Board of Supervisors calendar on behalf of Linda. These are a lot of the projects that we've been working on, and if you're ever interested, it's not super easy to find, but there is a calendar of significant items that's on the county administrator's website that you can get to, and that's a pretty good summary if you're trying to track what the board is planning to hear. It does change more often than we'd like. It's kind of subject to needs that the chair of the board and the county administrator determine, but it's still pretty good guidance for how the schedule can be expected to move forward. So on Tuesday, I did want to mention that Sonoma Water has a water rates item on the calendar. So that may be of interest. I was going to mention it anyway, but considering the particular interest from the public, that is coming up on Tuesday's calendar. And that I did really want to highlight on April 24th, there is a special meeting for the Board of Supervisors on a Monday, and that is so that they can hear 3 items, 2 of which have to do with vacation rentals. So many of you have been tracking it, and we included a lot of links in detail in the newsletter that went out recently to the general district. But there's 3 items. One is on the vacation rental business license ordinance. So those are the performance standards that are proposed to be included with the business license program. There's also the vacation rental rezoning, which relates to the cap areas that have been considered, including the whole Lower Russian River area. And then finally, there's a 3rd item that's transient use of fractionally owned residential properties. So that is it says the Board of Supervisors directed staff to study and develop an ordinance related to the transient use of residential properties under fractional ownership. So that's some people have heard of companies like Plata that are purchasing a home and then they have a model where they sort of share the ownership amongst a group of people. So the board has asked for this to look at regulating that potentially as well. So those are the 3 key items that are expected for that Monday meeting on the 24th. And then following that, starting the 25th, there are budget workshops that are starting. So the board does this series of April workshops where they're getting more general information, particularly about the budget. And then in June, they'll come back and make those final decisions. But from April 25th through April 27th, there are going to be budget workshops. And for those of you interested in the county's decision-making and budgeting, that's a good place to get some background and key issues. The last thing I would add is that, Linda has with the budget some ability to make formal requests for budget items and also formal requests for information. So if there's issues that you think we should be focusing on, of course, please send them to the 5th district email box, district5@sonoma-county.org, or you can send it to any of us. We're happy to receive that. We'll be in those budgeting conversations for the next few months. Those are the main things that I really wanted to highlight today for Linda. I think, there's been a lot of stuff happening with the local coastal plan, so there's been very much coast focus, and then also, we've been working with the city of Sebastopol on the conversion of Sebastopol into permanent supportive housing. Currently, it's a non-congregate shelter, and it's going to become originally planned permanent supportive housing. So those are some of the other things that are going on that relate to housing, which is going to be talked about at the Forestville Town Hall, and is also going to be something that we'll all be thinking a lot about this year. So that's the key information I wanted to share. I'm happy to answer any questions as appropriate, and if I've left anything out, Debbie, you can feel free to. I don't mind reaching out and building anything too. Thanks.
Thanks, Leo.
Oh, what time is the April 24th workshop?
The April 24th. Let me see if it's been posted. I wasn't posted yesterday. Yeah, it's listed as 8:30. So 8:30 is the normal start time. Chair Corsi has been doing closed session typically first at 8:30, but this special meeting, I don't believe we're expecting there to be that. So I would expect the meeting to start at 8:30 on these 3 key items, but do double check so that you're not wasting time The information should be posted a week ahead.
And it's just in person.
No, the board has been doing, the board has continued to do hybrid. They are doing, because of the Brown Act, they're required to have the board members be in person. But they are able to, do the technology. So we've been definitely trying to understand that better because we want to be able to use those technologies as well, but they're quite costly, like each meeting costs, I don't want to be quoted on it, but in the ballpark of like between like $4,000 and $10,000, depending on how you count labor, contracts, cost, captioning, equipment. So it's pretty expensive. And, you know, I've been, sorry, I'm going on too long, but I've been personally like, of course, wanting as much hybrid as possible. And that's kind of the spirit of how staff have been, but I've been told by many different groups how difficult the technology is and how easy it is for something to go wrong. And it's true, I watched the Vesticles hybrid meeting this week and it actually broke in the middle. And that has implications on documentation and flow and all that. So I try to really, you know, even though I want to have us jump in and do everything completely accessible and hybrid and translated in all ways, it is always balancing cost and sort of the trade-off. So we'll keep at it though.
So best to.
Yeah. The board should be best practices, and so there will be translated and hybrid both.
Okay. And there's a, where do we find the hybrid link?
The Zoom link is always in the board agenda.
On the
So
board agenda.
if you open the PDF, that's where you can find it. I think they do post it one or two other places, but that's where I always go.
Okay.
Any other comments from anyone on council? Questions for Leo? You got it easy. Yeah. Anyone in the audience have any questions for Leo about what he just talked about? Great. Okay,
And I'll anyone in Zoom, if you'd like, now's your chance to please raise your hand if you'd like to ask any questions of me or this item. I think it's fine to move forward.
okay.
So Louise was going to do the next item, and she has a phone call. Should you want to go to committee and staff reports?
Yeah, let's do that. No mind, we're gonna skip over Elisa's section for a second. One thing we did talk about was ad hoc committee to work on land acknowledgement. When when we do the pledge of allegiance, there can be a land acknowledgement there as well.
It's a land acknowledgement.
Yeah. It's like acknowledging that we're on native land and to acknowledge the people that came before. And it's being done. Some towns boards open with that as well as the pledge. So I wanted to do sort of a research project on it, and I think that Annie was gonna do that with me to present not the land acknowledgement, but to present the concept of why people do it to the MAC to see if we then maybe wanted to do it.
Yeah, and
As a group.
there's like a lot of different ways it can happen. So I'm hoping ad hoc can like explain it better and then maybe have a couple of suggestions on what we might do, and then we can decide if we want to move forward and if one of those fits
It's
with
not,
what we want to do.
it's not to replace the pledge or
Right.
take away from the pledge.
It just adds to it.
Yeah.
Not,
Gotcha.
it's sort of like, it's kind of like one of those both hands, I think, Just a project and informational, and we'll see where it goes, I think. Is that right? Did I say that?
Yes.
So we have Lisa who will chair the ad hoc, and Patty want to participate. Is there anyone else that would like to be on the ad hoc?
I might want to share.
No, I think.
Okay, we got three.
Anyone else?
Well, could we make something from the community?
You can,
It would be, well, I mean.
and you can do that. You don't have to send that out. You can just
Yeah.
let us know and we'll get it down and.
Hopefully, from the tribes, yeah, that's part of it.
Okay. And then we also talked about, we've had an issue with the name of Pocket Canyon as one of the MAC districts pretty much since the inception. And I know it's tough for Betsy.
It was very difficult for people to understand who their MAC representative is and what the district is, because Pocket Canyon is one entity, and we've got Mays Canyon, Vacation Beach, Neely Road, Drake Road. Did I say Mays Canyon?
Yeah.
You know, we've got all that entire district, and it's, you know, it's sort of insulting to people that they're not included, they feel not included. Particularly, I mean, Vacation Beach and Drake Road are extremely densely
Right.
populated and have a lot of issues with vacation rentals and stuff like that. So I mean, someone wrote, has been calling it Guerneville South and if you look at the map, the entire district is on the other side of the bridge, and it would make perfect sense.
Right, so the ad hoc the intent was to explore issues. I know there's geographic
Get input from the
problems,
people.
get input from people and ad hoc, and then come back to, I don't even know if we have to come back to the MAC to approve that, because that was something that wasn't approved by the MAC to begin with. I mean, it wouldn't hurt. But to work with the 5th district to make sure that something works. Yeah.
There would need to be a change to the bylaws.
Oh, that's
and
right.
It would need to be a change in the board of supervisors, so, yeah,
Okay.
so it would need to come back. Anything that's a change to the bylaws needs to be approved by the body.
Okay. So anyone else besides Betsy might be nice if someone from Forestville is on that, because I think Pocket Canyon actually touches into part of what technically Forestville.
I'm pretty sure Pocket Canyon is Guerneville to the other side, the other opening of Mays Canyon. Because the male districts, the 95446 versus 95436.
Yeah, the
Right.
one that Mays Canyon is Guerneville.
Yeah, Mays Canyon is Guerneville, except like the first two addresses. But the rest of Mays Canyon, I mean, the ones on the Correspondence side.
So the map that's on the Lower River MAC site, the map that defines the boundaries, is the boundaries stay the same?
The
Or
bound-
you just want to put
The
in?
boundary would stay the same.
The boundaries stay the same, you just want to call
We just want to call it something else to include all the people who don't live on Pocket Canyon.
Or doesn't know what the Pocket Canyon, who the Pocket Canyon council member.
So it's just a name
represents.
change.
It would be.
Yeah, it's an change.
That's all it is. That seems
There's
good.
no change. It's a district. Well, apparently we need bylaw change because the board of supervisors adopted the name.
Yeah, it would need to go from us to the board, and then the board would need to.
I mean, it should be a
But
simple process,
simple
right?
request.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably fast.
Yeah. We got a
So does anyone else on the council want to participate in this ad hoc first? With that, and I'll get to Lloyd, I see you.
And I will reach out to my alternate, Greg.
Great. That would be great if the two of you.
Yeah.
did that. Okay,
Because
awesome.
he lives on Drake, I live on Neely.
Anyone have a comment, council, on that? Pretty straightforward. Lloyd?
It's nice that you're having a discussion about boundaries or understanding of what that is. But you have been in existence for a long time. And one of the things I first brought out to you at the early meeting was how you can have effective outreach and contact with your community in order to bring people to meetings and engage them. I think it's kind of, let's paint the house instead of let's fix the house. You need to work on trying to reach out effectively to this community.
Hold on a second. What you're talking about is actually on the agenda and it's gonna come up in a second and we recognize that issue. So.
So are you,
No,
ending my public comment?
No, I'm saying,
Then let me just finish and you can have your say later.
sit down, let him go on his part and then we'll come back to you. Because he's gonna talk about communications and he might be able to answer some of your questions in the right context. Okay. So now we are gonna move on. Is that, are we all good on that? So we are now gonna go to community cleanup. Lisa, and then we'll talk about communications. I'm not ignoring what you're saying. I think it would be better in the context with Joe talking about it.
Let's see, we met on March 24th, we being me, Alice, Vesta, Alice Teeter from Hacienda, alternate, Vesta, and Vicky. And we talked about trying to help coordinate smaller cleanups. And sort of came up with some ideas like calling it Micro May or Let's Get River Ready, and trying to find more groups to partner with, like Nick had mentioned the Fire Safe Guerneville, to get some smaller cleanups going. And also to get sort of vests and garbage bags with the help of Carol, who was there. So, and Vesta, did you want to add to that? Because my spiel was a little bit.
Yeah. Part of it is that the big cleanups that we have, the one that has been organized, require a really large space. And then also require some entity, a 501c3, to carry the insurance riders. And it's actually hard to find a really large space where people can come with their trucks and their cars and the dumpsters can be laid out without causing traffic jams. So it's a lovely idea to do these really big cleanups, but it's a serious challenge to pull it off. But cleanup needs to be done no matter what. I'm hoping that we can establish a micro cleanup in my town that has an annual parade. This town has annual parades. To be able to clean up a downtown before guests come during the tourist season would be a great opportunity to get people out and just feel like they're part of the community and they're doing something. Years ago, when I was the president of the Forestville Chamber, we always had a downtown Forestville cleanup before the Forestville Youth Park Parade. And it was a parade route cleanup, figuring people are going to be sitting out on the sidewalks, on the curbs with their children. Kids are picking up candy off the street that's being tossed into the street. Can we make that clean? And the Chamber of Commerce stopped doing it a number of years ago, partly because people stopped showing up. And that's probably the biggest challenge. And things like communications is part of it. And then the other is, can you get people in unincorporated areas to do things that they think incorporated areas do for them? You get a lot of people who move into our communities and say they take care of it, but there is no they in our unincorporated community. It's us. So these little community cleanups are a wonderful opportunity to do something of a common good together as a community. And it's actually kind of fun. It only takes a few hours to pull off. So I reached out to the Forestville Youth Park and to, I guess just the FBA and us about doing one in May for Forestville. And that would be in planning for the Forestville Youth Park Parade on June 3rd. June 3rd. I don't know what the dates are in Guerneville, and there are other towns in the Lower River area that have events that would be perfect for the town to get together and do a cleanup. So that's basically it. And the only financing that it usually involves is dump fees and trash bags and bottles of water. And we've done this in the past where everybody has simply agreed to do it and on their own and not require any financing or insurance or any complications. But I think because it's the MAC, we have to cover things like insurance riders and all of that interesting stuff. So anyway, it's an idea that if people think it's a good idea, then we can jump on it and make it happen.
Thanks. Anyone have any comments on trash? Yeah.
This has all been done before. all these towns had major cleanups through ecology or the company before them. What you're talking about is cleaning up for tourists. What the problem is, the dump fees are so high, people don't go to the dump. Therefore, they got all this trash on their property. It's not cleaning up for the tourists, it's cleaning up for ourselves. And that's what used to happen before. In Rio Nido, there would be dumpsters with everything there and they would be overfull. Because people want to get rid of their stuff, but they can't because they don't have the money starting at 30 some odd bucks and then going way up depending on weight or how much there is. So you have to work for a different solution. And one solution is maybe having free dump pack. So people who are in a certain category can take their stuff to the dump. Because just cleaning up downtown doesn't clean up the town. It only cleans up the visual few blocks of it. The rest of the town is still junk out. So hopefully you'll find something a little different.
We're not giving up on the dump days as well. So we want to do the big cleanups. We've done one in Forestville. Guerneville has done one. So we're not giving up on that. We're looking for multiple solutions to.
Yeah.
A little bit of history on our trash and our dump fees. When our towns were started, it was really cheap to take things to the dump. We didn't have a robust ecology delivery and pickup, and so that was the only option, and people got used to going to the dump. One of the issues we have with all of our municipal services is that we don't have enough ratepayers paying into our systems, water systems, trash systems, all these systems. So for example, if you have a road like going up Canyon 7 in Rio Nido, and you have 2 customers that are on ecology and all the rest going to the dump, then that's not sustainable for the trash company to provide trash service to that road. Therefore, a few years back, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the date, they changed the rate structure and they increased the dump fees and they decreased the residential trash fees so that people would sign up all up and down the road in order to get their trash picked up on a regular basis. And then the dump now is really created to be for people who are doing big community cleanups or picking up garbage from the dump. So the rate structure changed with a plan in mind that we will be able to get more ratepayers supporting regular trash service throughout the entire community. And you'll find that what is it? I pay $16 a month, something like that for ecology. So it is, and there are many people who have actually gotten together in order to, 2 or 3 houses that get one trash service that covers a couple of houses to make that affordable. So there are, it isn't just fees going up. There was actually a thought behind that. Whether we agree with that thought or not is something else. But that was the impetus behind the way that the fees changed.
The number is only this high. I mean, you had a free dump day for years and years and years when there was a dump there. A free dump day once a month would solve a lot of the problems. And, we don't have the money, we don't have this. Well, okay.
Please, question, pardon me, what did you say your fee was per month? 16?
No, it's $50.
Yes.
Oh, it's a month. That's what I said.
I think that becomes a quarter, $16, it comes out to,
Oh, because you share.
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
And we're paying substantially.
And if I'm only one person, so how much trash do I make?
Well-
So I share it with my neighbor and it works out great that way.
Okay, that explains why the rate is so much.
And the concept of the trash ad hoc is we're trying to do both, which are these dump days, which involve recycling and trash and everything else. And it is a big event with cars lining up to dump their stuff off at the proper places and all that kind of stuff. So it's a large event like you've had in Rio Nido, we had in Correspondence. We're trying to establish them in the Lower River area as long as we can get all of the place and the coverage. These little micro cleanups, and the reason we chose downtown is like in the case of our town, it's an opportunity for people to really get together and do something, because there is little bits of debris everywhere. And if you want people to sit on the sidewalk and watch the parade go by, it'd be nice if it didn't have trash or debris on it. And that, so there is no public service that does that in these unincorporated areas. Guerneville has, Carrie and Sally Sorensen, and Carrie has problems, so Sally has taken it over. We're small towns, and we really need our citizens to step up and be part of the solution to these things, and that's why these community cleanups are all part of that.
And it's disturbing to hear that, you know, we have, for the place, Recology doesn't serve everybody.
Yeah.
We have private businesses that actually do garbage for a significant, at least 10% of the houses in the area. So, you know, and by raising these dump fees so that only Recology gets to collect household waste is, that doesn't sound right. And it also really,
There are providers, aren't there? There's Hubstutters,
there's Hubstutters, I know there are at least 2 other.
yeah, there are other providers out there as well.
Right, but those are small businesses that have to pay the increased rates because Recology wants everybody to go to Recology. And it's increasing the rates on small business owners that have to do dump runs as part of yard waste or building, you know, so it's increasing our expense to comply because Recology wants to capture business.
So like when Carrie and Sally take their
I don't
dump,
think it's because Recology wants to capture business. I think it's because, as we were saying, that when you have municipal services, you need to be able to pay for those services, and there need to be a certain number of people buying in. That, you know, the prices go up, but that.
So I mean,
obviously
it's
we
too
can't do it.
expensive
It'll
for
pull down.
This is their own policy.
This is not, yeah, this is beyond this, committee's purpose.
Lloyd, did you have someone trash that on what the ad hoc report was?
no,
Cleanup, sorry, I was saying the same thing. I
cleanup
apologize.
committee.
Yes, I'm listening carefully, okay? I was really quite amazed at what we learned, the structure of the rates has been to underwrite, subsidize private business that we give a contract to. Quite out, in my estimation, that's quite outlandish. But that is the way things happen nowadays. We privatize and then there's complaints that they don't have enough revenue. It's very curious. And I can certainly see that the next step would be to require, make trash pickup mandatory. In order, can I just finish out an interruption with them? I can see the possibility of trying to make trash pickup mandatory in order to underwrite the municipal cost. Well, if I hire a Rolls Royce for a taxi, of course, my costs are going to be a little bit larger. What Mr. Unia pointed out, 3 days, and the fact that the rates are too high is what needs to be addressed. And if Recology can't live on that concept, then we should look for another provider. And we should let that provider know that you're only going to get so much because there's a limited base, and we're only going to allow you to charge so much. There's different ways of looking at it. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, any other comments on cleanup? Before I get into that.
And I appreciate not going to dump anymore, trying to figure out how to.
It's more fun.
I did, is there a cleanup date plan for Forestville?
Well, I've just proposed it as May 20th, and it's a Saturday, and but I haven't heard back from the youth park, and I need to reach out to the Forestville Chamber. Because those are the entities in Forestville and the Forestville Planning Association. You and I talked about it, and that's FPA, MAC, but there's the other 2 entities that are part of the community that would want to get involved in it.
Right. So just, I'll put one final point on this. The ad hoc did a great job of templatizing as much as they possibly could on how to put together your own community cleanup. And If you want a copy of that, and they talked to a whole bunch of people to make this happen. We've done it in Guerneville before, John participated in that, so they took the information from us and other people. Compiled it all into one packet where it's step by step on the things you need to do, and even a video of how the day transpires. It's a great template, anyone can take it. If you can't find it, you can contact us and we'll send it to you.
It's now online.
Okay.
There's a web page for it that is, if you go to the Lower Russian River Map website, then you can click on the community cleanup. There might be a few words that we're gonna change, and if any of you have input, it's easy to change, so let me know.
Thanks.
I have a quick question about that, because Montreal is one of the places that really does have a great big space for that people come up in the dumpsters and everything. But would people outside of Montreal be able to use that, or is it supposed to be just Montreal?
It depends on what the 501c3 that's sponsoring it wants to do.
Okay.
So like in Rio Nito, we limited to Rio Nito residents, right? And we even have them show up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Sure.
for clarification.
So,
Does anybody want to do one?
Yeah, yes, I do. I'll be in touch.
Did you have your hand up?
I mean, when we're ready to switch topics, I have something to say whenever we're ready.
Okay, we're gonna go into, if we're done with cleanup, we're gonna move on to public, if there's any public comments. Online.
I mean, so if anyone would like to speak, we'd love to have you speak. We want to see if that functionality works. But I can read, Sandra posted a comment. I think it at least partly relates to Lisa's item later, but I'm just going to read it now. So she said, just today, we saw a potential calendar issue if the Lower Russian River Governance Study Community Workshop #2 might be on Saturday, June 3rd. Will that be at the same time as the Forestville Parade and Youth Park Barbecue events? Thanks, Sandra. And so I don't know if someone mentioned those Forestville events, but I think it sounds like those are all day, those 2 days. So hopefully if people went to the governance study, they would also still be able to enjoy a lot of the barbecue. But
Yeah.
I don't know, is that right?
Parade is 10 a.m. and it lasts maybe 2 hours if you're lucky. It's very short.
10 a.m.
But then
June 3rd.
10 a.m. June 3rd, and that's cast in stone. It's decades of being the first Saturday of the month. So you just miss the parade to go to the barbecue, which goes on for 2 whole days.
And we'll, of course, I assume record the governance study, or so people could view it afterward.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Anyone else, Leo?
I don't see anyone else's answers.
All right.
I'll be public comment. I've been undergoing a lot of fraud with PRMD for many years.
Excuse me, the time for comments that are not on the agenda was at the front of the meeting.
Okay,
Um,
so I can't speak my piece that my house was taken away this week by code enforcement when there's 2 articles and county ordinances being signed regarding lightening up on housing because of the housing crisis. And I've been up against higher incomes fraud for 5 years and my dad's an elder and getting abused and it's just, okay, I missed
She
my
came in
window.
after that. She came in after that. Is there any way to break the rules so she can speak?
You know, originally when this all came about, we asked to meet with Linda Hopkins and we were denied. We never got to actually speak to our supervisor about our issue and about the fraud levied against us around a lie that was placed on. And I have 50 other people that I talked to about this PRNG fraud. So just wanted to put it on the record that it would be nice to get some support from the supervisors around all the abuse that my constituents are going through and our constituents, your constituents, your public, this county that I talk to, the amount of trespassing we're facing as a group of people with code enforcement is it's putting a lot of people in a lot of hardship and ruining a lot of people's lives. So I just wanted some recognition. I wanted to be able to communicate with the board of supervisors to come with our issues and be able to have an avenue to have a conversation about it. I know that there's been some articles in Lightning the pressure on, accessory dwellings because of the housing issue, and this week, even after we presented that to the people, they came in and they disconnected our electric in buildings that were not unsafe. Maybe they didn't have a permit, but when we tried to get a permit, they didn't work with us, so, you know, it's like, it's kind of, the PRD's kind of tough. They're a real tough organization to work with. So.
All right, thank you. So, I mean, we are not allowed to go back and forth, but let me give you my card, reach out again, I didn't touch your name, and. I mean, for what it's worth, I mean, we're like, our team is about 4 staff, and I would say we spend more than 1 or 2 FTE advocating on behalf of our constituents related to related work, so. Feel free to send us your information. I'm sorry if you sent it once and didn't get a response or feel like it was satisfactory, and we'll see what we can do.
Excellent, thank you very much, I appreciate that.
Okay, communications. Go, you're on it.
Thank you. Well, we've been talking about the communications committee for the last 3 meetings. In the first meeting after we were formed, we presented our list of what we hope to accomplish and what our aims and goals were. And I'd be happy to recirculate that for anybody's attention if you weren't there. I don't have it with me this moment. We've been working, and generally our intent is to reach every single person in the Lower Russian River about the existence of MAC, what we do, what we can help with, how they can become aware of issues before the county, how they can participate in decision-making within the county, and provide as many links as possible for people to do that. We feel that we're a conduit both from the county and to the county. We individually want to hear from you and from everybody in our communities, and be a resource to guide you to the right places to which you can speak. So, you know, our individual power, I'm not sure that folks understand what it is that we do. We're an advisory group, so we advise. We don't create policy, we don't create laws, we don't create codes, but we advise what our community is thinking and feeling about issues, and that's the intent of the communications committee to further that. What we've been working on recently is gathering what we need for MAC presence at events and farmers markets, creating materials for those events. The first 2 are coming right up, the Fix It Fair on April 20th and Forestville Town Hall on April 29th. And members of the committee will be attending those. And as we mentioned last meeting, we have proposals for the whole MAC consideration. We have 3 different proposals which were in your packet, and they'll be presented by the other members of the committee. And Betsy goes first.
Proposal number 1. We were thinking of calling May outreach month, but then May is creeping up too quickly, so we thought we'd call the entire summer. Outreach to our constituents, and to each of us make a commitment to find ways to reach our constituents. And that means anything from door to door to creating coffee events or town halls or appearing at public events. And there are many events through the summer. And we're thinking, you know, working on getting a table and signs and materials so that we can be there to answer people's questions and encourage them to attend our meeting and participating in our processes. So that's proposal number 1 to the entire MAC, that we commit as a group and individuals to participating on that level or engaging on that level.
One suggestion might be to somehow be able to fund badges for both in public meetings.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently there is a little money. We heard.
A badge is cheaper than a t-shirt.
Yeah. And that's a start.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
You mean like pins, like those home machines?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're magnetic, yeah.
Yeah, magnetic works better than poking a hole in their clothing. Yeah. So we know we're doing farmers markets.
We are
Yeah,
definitely.
definitely doing farmers markets.
That's the next proposal.
Yeah. And the town halls and the fix it fair.
Right.
So I'll move into proposal number 2.
So the
Uh,
point. We would like these to be adopted by MAC. So is that something that we can vote on and agree to, that we create a MAC summer, MAC awareness summer? Is that appropriate?
can we do it as it's written here, or do we need to have something else?
I don't see why you're saying that this is something, this is your intent.
Well, is it right, because it's on the agenda.
Did
I
I put,
propose that
It
we
says possible action.
yeah, and I, impossible actions on,
Possible action, so you have the ability to.
Okay, great. So yes, we could.
so what,
should we read it as written.
Sure.
Do you want to do them individually, like proposal 1? and
Yeah,
vote
that
on
would
it?
That would be, yeah, that's the backwards.
That's why I stopped now.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, you're good at this.
So the first one reads, we propose this summer, June through August, be designated Lower Russian River MAC Awareness Summer. Each representative will devote time to reaching members of their community and introducing MAC to them. This can be done in any way the rep chooses, but some options are going door to door, appearances at events, holding informal drop-in meeting opportunities, and or organizing a town hall.
I move that we adopt proposal number 1.
I'll second. Go
Okay,
ahead.
go ahead.
I'll second that.
Can we get a vote on that?
I-
Oh, sorry, public comment on that. Thank you, Michael. You have to keep going.
Public comment.
That's what I just said.
Well,
You know, you already have an excellent range of communication that you don't use. I looked at the agenda, the names of all you are not on there. Your email addresses, your county email addresses are not on there. How do people get in contact with you? You have the basics and you don't use them. So why don't you try to use the basics you already have to start it off and then work further along? I can't contact you. I can't contact any of you because I don't know how to contact you.
You do something.
It's on the website.
it's on the website.
It's on the website. Put it on the agenda, put it on your document.
That's a good idea.
Good
Yeah,
suggestion.
good one.
The website is very difficult to use.
Sure.
It's very convoluted. It's not easy and I know how to use stuff, but ooh,
I'll just say, I think we can walk and chew gum. I think we can do these things and do that also.
it's fair. I mean, you don't have county email address.
No, we don't.
No, we don't.
You don't.
No,
They were at the beginning.
No, they were never county.
No.
Yeah, we never had authorization.
no.
You never had one? I
No,
had one.
no.
I had one. I was only marketing.
You didn't. We created Gmail addresses that said LLRMAC, so you could have thought it was, but it wasn't your county.
Hmm. Well,
You have a lawyer?
Anyone online, if you want to speak?
Well, lawyers, wait a minute. That's all right.
Sorry. I didn't want to forget, I apologize.
It's not happening.
You want to create a MAC awareness summer. Why don't you just go home and bake a cake and have a bake sale? You want to encourage each of yourselves to reach out. Possibly go door to door. Organize a town hall. You know how expensive it is to organize a town hall? How expensive it is just to do something? If you don't have a budget, all your little fine vocabularies are meaningless. Just like what he pointed out. Email, how do they reach you? How do they know you? What I wanted to be known I would go to Safeway and stand there and talk to people. Day after day after day. When we wanted to bring an issue to the public, we would go to the plaza, set up a booth, and be there consistently. And not just with vocabulary and little donuts, but we would listen and we would engage. And we did that during redevelopment, and we did that during the fire department issues. Haven't any of you learned anything from those previous experiences? The way you are going about this is well intended. You're all intelligent people, grown-ups. But it seems a little bit juvenile.
Good time, Lloyd.
Can we move for vote?
Yes.
Wait, wait, wait a minute.
Comment.
Comment from the,
I think they would raise their hand, but yes, here's your chance. Please raise your hand if you'd like to say something on this item.
My experience, and we put on town hall meetings in Forestville at least once a year, and they haven't been that expensive, and they've been fairly successful, so I don't see that as out of the question in my experience. And also, I like the idea of showing up at the farmer's market and showing up in public places, and I think that'll do a little bit. There you have your typical people who come to the farmer's markets. It doesn't bring everybody into town, but at least it's a good start. And also I'm wondering, because, for example, writing the Forestville Gazette column, I don't have much on me, so I'd be happy to put something. Can other public outreach entities like the Gazette, like the PD, whoever, what are the locals, Sonoma West, is there an opportunity to use some of that public media stuff to have a multi-pronged approach? And it sounds like you've got one.
Definitely, that's part of what we're.
Could I also make a response? The proposal doesn't require any particular community to use any particular way, like town hall, if that's not a feasible way to approach it. What the proposal is saying is that we as representatives commit to work within our communities, and with some suggested ways you can go about it, but they're not limiting in any way, nor are they mandatory. It's more that we are committed to spend this summer looking at what works for the people that we represent.
Can we vote on both once?
Yes, you can now.
Yeah. What?
All the questions.
Yeah, can someone move to?
I move.
Okay.
Second, we already did.
did that.
You didn't, yeah.
So,
If I moved, then that's the second.
okay. So.
You can do it regular. All those-
Oh, okay, sorry.
So just say all those in favor.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, proposal 2.
So proposal 2 is really our approach to getting into these community events. And we are going to the town hall. We will be going to the Fix It Fair. We're on the road to getting in Forestville and Guerneville farmers markets. We have got the table, the chairs, the canopy, the banner, all of that. We're working on materials to pass out at these events. But what we really need now is a comprehensive list of these events. You know, we're sort of coming from our own communities and thinking about that, but we need to get more input, especially from all of the MAC members. Tell us what your communities are preparing to do in the next year, if you can, and let us get involved in that. And if they are, you know, somebody's having booths at a fair, we want to be there. One thing that we want to be clear about for our committee is it's not just us, you know, me and Joe and Patty and Betsy at these events, it's all of us. So if there's a community event, in your, local area, then we would like you to be involved in that. We would like to get that list from you if you can, and then what we'd like to do is start a sign up. We'd like to do a sign up list right now for the ones we've scheduled. I think we've got Forestville Town Hall and pretty much covered. And possibly the Fix It Fair, but we need your participation in, getting us the information about events and then participating in the events themselves.
So Guerneville and Forestville are big enough towns that we have events, but Monterey doesn't have that many events. But there are events in Monterey, and Monterey does, I think, still have a Chamber of Commerce. I'm not entirely sure. Chambers of Commerce are really great resources for event information. Duncan's Mills has the rodeo and a few things like that, so that's another opportunity. Cazadero has, I probably still does Raymond Bakery Friday nights.
They're close right now.
Okay, so finding these things, Jenner used to have, don't even know if they still have, but yeah, the whole concept of sometimes it is just a table that you set up, not necessarily an event, like we know that there's Jazz at Sunday on Cafe Aquatica, and maybe someone just comes and hangs out, whatever. The places where we know our representatives live and the MAC is. Guerneville has Art Walk. I believe it's still happening. River Arts is doing a lot now, the time in the River Arts. But things like in Forestville, the only thing we've got is the parade once a year and the farmers market. So what other communities?
Well,
And our town hall, but that's once a year.
Chamber, minutes always list their monthly event.
I'm a little confused by number two.
The proposal is simply that everybody buys into having a sign-up sheet.
And
We're gonna construct a list of everything we can possibly think of,
right.
and we just want to ensure that all MAC is on board.
So
And I will circulate a sign-up sheet so people can volunteer for the ones that want to go.
Well, I think we do need input from the community.
Yeah, see, that's what I'm confused about, because there's two things. There's one, which is, what are the events, right? Two is, is it sign up sheets to work at a table?
Yes. And then
So it's just not clear in here to me. Exactly what it is.
That's,
It's two different.
I think, my summer is booked. All right, I mean, so I'm not gonna be able to sign up for anything additional, so.
This proposal says, we propose circulating a sign-up sheet among MAC reps and alternates from the relevant and adjacent communities for staffing of those tables. It doesn't commit anybody to doing it. All we want to do is create the list, which we can do by polling people, by polling the community, by going to the Chamber of Commerce, and then circulating a sign-up sheet. So the proposal is simply to circulate the sign-up sheet.
Okay.
The event list.
An event list,
I'm good with that.
which I would add to this, so it's
Okay.
clear.
We propose, creating an event list and circulating.
So can I get a motion on proposal two with making it clear on those two things, getting the list and then circulating the sign-up sheet? With those additions and proposal two, would someone make a motion?
Well, you need to read the revision so that you can approve it.
Communications Committee has committed to Lower Virgin River MAC participation at the Guerneville and Forestville Farmers Markets and is accumulating other community event opportunities. We propose creating a list and circulating a sign-up sheet among MAC reps and alternates from the relevant and adjacent communities to staffing of those tables.
I move.
Public comment on that.
Is there any public comment on that?
Did we somewhere?
Yeah.
And you said, and
I moved.
Betsy.
Public comment, please.
Great place to find events is the Sonoma County calendar from Robert
Jennifer?
Yeah, and I got one this year and he has a QR code. So he, granted with COVID, everything kind of dropped off.
Yeah.
So he put a QR code on his calendar so that it can be constantly updated even after the print. You just go and look at the QR code.
Yeah,
That's a really good place to look for events.
Okay, thank
And
you.
the Press Democrat has a calendar,
Right.
there's happening in Sonoma County, which is a calendar. And those are all online.
Any other public comment on that before we go? So we had a motion, we had a second. All in favor?
Online.
Oh, anyone online?
Jeanette, keep it sound. Any interest in commenting? All right, thanks for being there.
Okay, we're good. So all in favor?
Right?
Okay, proposal 3.
Proposal 3, so if you go to our website, which is hard to navigate, understood, but there is on the little banner, a section called purpose, for the map. And, the section 2 of purpose starts out saying the duties of the river map shall include, and then there are 5 items that are listed in the materials in the agenda for this meeting. And what isn't there is what we'd like to include as point 6 of what our duties are. To conduct outreach in the community as broadly as possible, to inform about the existence and role of the map, to invite input about all issues that affect the community, and to disseminate information about county issues, meetings, and decisions. While the section on our duties is not limiting, it says shall include, we felt that communication was important enough to have it included very expressly as one of our duties, one of our very key important duties. And so that's why we have this proposal, and I open it for comment or question.
Right now, the most important one that we do this with is the next Facebook page, where things that are announced in the county that apply to the Lower River MAC, we post. Joe and I do it, other people do it, there are people in the community do it, Otto and a number of other people. Anybody can post to the Facebook page. There's a reason, and I can't remember what it is, we can't do a next door one. And I think that's the only outreach other than the media world. The media world, you're dependent upon the media to actually accept your press release and then publish it. But I will say that the one thing with all of this is it puts all the communication responsibility on the MAC to communicate to the public. But I don't see any responsibility for the public to be aware and be proactive about knowing what's going on. It seems to me that when people say, I didn't know that was happening, well, if it was out there, then it's their responsibility to find it and pay attention to it, come to the meeting, et cetera, et cetera. So we can do all we want, outreach, but if people aren't paying attention, then what do we do with that one? How do we make people pay attention? We can't. All we can do is do as much outreach as humanly possible and keep it up. Just even things like this, we post them on the side of the road. I can't tell you how many of these have been taken down already, and I only put them up a couple of days ago. It's very frustrating. And we clean them up right away, but we do anything we can. But we still have the other end of it, which is people need to be responsible to pay attention, to listen to what we are offering. So
But
I'd like all
this
this.
is speaking to our responsibility.
Yeah, and this is just speaking to our, I just want to say that because
You do make that point.
so I think these are all great, and the Facebook page is really important. Is there any other internet other than the county website where we can do these things as well?
Yes,
What,
as locals, and I post on that page for Casadero,
is that a
Duncan's Mills.
Facebook page or?
Yes, it is.
Okay, so when I post something up on the MAC Facebook page, I share it on my personal one. Anybody who has administration on like Guerneville locals, you can't post on those unless the administrator lets you.
That's
But
correct.
the person who's the administrator can go into the MAC page and share it on their group page.
Right. We have to be really careful. Yeah, be very careful around that and change communication.
Yeah.
So, I try not to post on the, any of the other websites other than just Casadero.
So, no, that's what I'm saying. We don't post on the Casadero
That's
locals.
correct.
So the Casadero locals would proactively go to the MAC Facebook page and share it. Because then it would be the Casadero or Guerneville locals that would be sharing the information.
Probably don't look at the MAC. But they do look at CAS locals.
So that would
That's
be-
why I post on CAS locals.
That would be like something that a rep would do.
Right.
Or Joe's actually been doing it lately.
I do.
But I used to do, with Joe, before Joe, I would do it. I would take the MAC page and share it to the Guerneville local
Correct.
page, add to Russian River resources and to a couple of.
That way you're safe.
Yeah.
Right, so that means like that it would be in a one where the admin is responsible for what gets posted. Then you reach out to the admin person to get it done?
No,
No.
but regardless, I mean, the subject at hand here is should we add this 6th point?
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
very much,
And-
yeah.
and, my question is, was this is on the website, I know, is this pulled from our bylaws?
No,
It's not, okay, great.
it's actually better than mine,
Right,
clearer.
yeah. So we should note that
So
because
we can add
we
in.
could, when we revisit the bylaws, we could revisit this next and include it in the formalized. So any public comment on number 3? Yeah.
I get confused because everything's electronic. And a lot of people aren't electronically connected. And you'd be surprised how many aren't. You think, oh, maybe all these old folks. There's a lot of other people that aren't connected electronically. On your Facebook page for the MAC, I couldn't even get a link to the packet of the agenda. So, there could be a lot more on that page with links going places where if you want to use that page for communication, use it for communication. Give links to whatever you want to go to on this county page. You can do all this kind of stuff. It's there to be done, but don't always do everything electronically.
So when we had the last meeting, we posted physical agendas at the location of the meeting and around town. That was in Forestville. So like you're saying, if the meeting is in Guerneville, then, or whatever community the meeting is in, the representative of that community puts a paper agenda.
There's not that many bulletin boards anymore.
I know.
And you let the senior center know that you're having a meeting and where it is. Does anybody in the Guerneville deal send a notice to the senior center? Do you send it to the schools? Do you send it someplace out there?
I think that's the spirit of what number 2 was.
Yeah.
So I think you're right, John, and I think these guys recognize it, and that is the spirit of number 2.
Use the Facebook page for more information. I get on there and it just says there's a meeting on how to connect to, on Zoom. It doesn't give you any other information.
Well, and that's one of the things actually that I've noticed is that if you put just the link, people won't follow the link.
I'm sorry.
Well, if they're not there, they can't follow them.
Yeah, we're not talking about communication tactics, we're talking about adding a line.
No responsibility.
So does anyone out online have any comments about number 3 before we
Go online, now's your chance to comment. You're all right, go ahead.
Okay, so can I get a motion?
I'll move.
Okay,
So,
all in favor?
I,
So moved.
Vicky, you were the second.
How many people are online right now?
All right, Elise,
Yes, are we, going to go back to the, item, or are we?
Yes, we're going back to the item with the resources.
Resource. This is a two-part. Started this meeting and finished next meeting. We wanted to talk a little about where to go when you have questions and when you have issues within the county. And when to escalate to the supervisor's office when that's necessary as well. In your packet and on the side is a draft resource sheet with the material of various things. One of the interesting challenges being an unincorporated area is that there are siloed departments sometimes. And so it's sometimes difficult to know where to go and what to call. So the first part is, as you know, we have SoCo Connect. And Debbie reached out to SoCo Connect and asked them to do a presentation on how to use the app and what happens after the information goes to them. And they told us that they have been updating it and they will have a new version. And they are going to come to next month's meeting in order to go over the new and improved version. So that's going to be coming. In the meantime, this list is a good start in terms of the various things that they do: code enforcement, roadway, sign signals and lights. You know, picking up trash on the road, hazardous trees, litter, road debris. One thing I would like to emphasize is that if it's debris or a tree down or something like that that is life threatening, if it's closing the road, that's always a 911 call. Anytime as you go through this resource sheet, if there's something that's life threatening, it's a 911 call, period. But if it's not a 911 call, these are the places to go. The illegal encampments and the phone number and an email here. One of the things that I wanted to point out about the siloing illegal encampments is a really excellent example of how things are moving forward. When we first started in our places in the anytime you had an illegal encampment issue, you had calls to county health for health and environmental issues. You had calls to the sheriff for illegal issues. You had calls to CHP for towing vehicles. You had calls to county health for health issues. You had calls to social services for social services issues. And we also had this legal expectation that we provided all these things in order to address an encampment. And given the fact that we had to call and contact so many different agencies, it was quite difficult. Since that time, how long has it been? Maybe 4 years that we started the HEART team. And the HEART team was an interdisciplinary team, and they get together every week and review between the sheriff's office and all these different departments all work together. So now when you report something in a legal encampment, it goes to their list and all 5 of those departments address it and take a look at it and go by and say, you know, and then they come back together and they say, okay, we need to provide X services here, or you don't need us, or to help people start coming by. So it is an integrated approach right now, which is far superior than it was a couple of years ago. And that's something that we're working on, that I'll talk about in governance as well. We're working on trying to break down some of these silos so that more effective services are being provided. The next thing is the vacation rental complaint hotline. This is a new thing that started last fall. So people now have a place to go when they have a call. It answers 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it goes on the record of whoever the vacation rental is, so that as the business license program comes in and as vacation rentals, as we have more response to vacation rental issues, this is a great way to get your issues heard and have some action taken. The question about when to call the sheriff and when to call CHP is always an interesting one. CHP is in charge of road related issues through the county. So if you have people speeding, if you have people, parking poorly, if you have people, having stolen vehicles or an accident, that's all CHP. If it is a crime of some other sort, any other sort of violation, that is the sheriff's office. So the sheriff does not patrol the roads, and CHP does not answer calls on crime. That's the difference between the two. If, so we could do public comment on this, and then I could move into governance, because it's so key, right, with the governance study. Or, you know, so we should comment on this piece.
I have a couple of things that I'd like to comment on. Thank you very much for working this up. In West County, during winter time, we have wires down. It's important that the local population know who to contact when wires are down, whether it be PG&E or the comm companies or what have you, but we should provide instructions for that specific item. Secondly, regarding the vacation rental complaint hotline, we should have a notification that people should ask for a ticket number so that they can refer to it later on. It'd be really helpful to be able to track the concern that the caller may have, and they should receive some sort of a ticket record so that it can be referenced later on if need be.
Isn't that part of the process in the same way that SoCo Connect has, that this hotline is supposed to get back to the complainant about the solution to the problem? If I'm correct, that's part of the policy.
But I think that having a ticket number would be helpful.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Kind of like SoCo Connect does.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, gotcha. I like that. Yeah.
Any other, oh, Nick, I just wanted to provide some positive feedback that it works. I checked in with the folks from Flamingo Hill who were at our last meeting to make sure, just wanted to make sure that they were getting, and they're happy. And they feel like it's working for them, so I just wanted to, yay.
Great, thanks so much, Nick.
It is important that people use it, because we've also heard, that it hasn't been heavily used, and it is a resource that the county's paying for because people have wanted it. And I'm not blaming people for not calling. I know there's been a lot of frustration and inaction and things like that in the house, and you may call, and if it's late at night and it's not resolved, like, I don't know that there's gonna be someone who's gonna come and shut your party down, but it's very important for documentation purposes, both for the site in question as well as the overall program. So I do encourage people to use it.
I was speaking about the illegal encampments.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Which with the Flamingo Hill issue that we had last week. So, you know,
And then,
actually, I have used the complaint line, and didn't work for me, so I have to try again.
I don't think there's enough communication around this line yet, because I'm still hearing people calling the CHP or the sheriff's office around it. They still don't know about this enough. And one of the things that I find really beneficial to this hotline is that it is supposed to be solved within 36 to 60 minutes, depending upon the time of day. And the person who made the complaint is supposed to hear that it has been taken care of. And that puts a real emphasis on locally owned property managers, because those ones that don't have a local property manager are not going to be able to solve the problem. So it really puts business back into our community for people here to be taking care of those vacation rentals.
Which is
Yeah.
part of the materials that we'll be having at events that we'll hand out also.
So you'll take this resource sheet and hand it out.
Yeah.
I was gonna chime in and say this really was created as a request from the communications committees, and the idea is so that more people can know about them.
And I left out one thing, if I may add, when you called supervisor's office.
Don't say never.
Love to hear from you, but it's important to know when it's helpful and when it's not helpful. For example, recently, during a holiday weekend, there was a water main burst out in Jenner, and they emailed me, and I wasn't there because I'm not a 24/7 hotline. But SoCo Connect is a 24/7 hotline. There's a maintenance person there all the time. And so getting to a maintenance person that's actually available is really important. So people sometimes think supervisor's office is in charge of everything, so I'll go there first. We're actually the second or third line of defense, going to these places first is a good thing. And then the second thing is coming to us when something isn't working. If you reported it and it isn't working. And an example of that, which I wanted to report on today, is the Morningside group that came into our last MAC meeting and said, we've got this problem, we've been reporting it, nothing's being done. And the issue there is actually quite complicated. Is as I was referring to in the illegal encampment, their particular issue crosses 3 different departments. And so when something crosses multiple departments and there isn't an integrated response mechanism, it sometimes can get stuck. And our job is to unstick that. And so they had some issue that had to do with the road. They had some issue which has to do with private property. And they had a third issue, which is illegal dumping on a very steep slope, which is covered by poison ivy, which nobody wants to go down and do. So we were able to take care of this. It will all be cleaned up by Monday, at least the majority of it by Monday. But sometimes when there are multiple departments involved, we can go in and stick them. So if you reported something or something isn't, action isn't being taken, and you waited a bit, that's when you come to us and we can help you unstick it. The third time to come to us, obviously, is when there's an issue that you have an opinion on that you want us to be working on this specific issue. So those are really, I'd say, the top 3 things that constituents come to us for, and that's when and in the process. You can also come to your MAC representatives. We hear a lot from our MAC representatives, and it's great to have a lot of these things prioritized and to have you guys help share information. You probably heard Pip at every single meeting telling me that we have to get a culvert in Canyon 6. As a result, I'm working really hard on it, but it's $450,000. So I'm working right. I have now gotten the amount. So that's an issue that went through the MAC and has come to us, and then we're working on it. So do you have any questions about how and where to look with the supervisor's office?
And this will get up on the website when you've completed it, it'll get up on the MAC website.
Yes, and well, they'll be printed. And there's a different piece of it could go on the website also. Yeah, it could also be there.
Bring a draft back to I suggest revise it, bring a draft back, we can take a look at it before we go to print.
Yes, and SoCo Connect will be here with next month, and there may be some changes to it as a result of that.
Anyone in online?
Any comments from online?
No? Anyone else in the room that missed a comment on who you call? Okay, so governance.
Yay! I love this project. It's so fantastic. So update, the governance project was envisioned to solve many of these issues in terms of how we get our local services handled and how we get greater control from the local area. Trash is one of them. Ecology often we have problems with. As a result, how can we, when the trash is not picked up, make sure that it gets picked up from a local level rather than having to call the county and get somebody from Santa Rosa to come out and take care of Guerneville's trash. These sorts of issues are endemic with the concept of having an unincorporated area. So we are about halfway through the study. The first step was community input. Of course, that never stops, but we did first the survey, and then we had a workshop meeting, and we had a second workshop meeting for the Latino community. So we had both a larger community meeting in English with translation, and then we also had a Latino specific community meeting, which was super helpful as well. Learned a lot of things that I did not know what's going on in that community. At the same time, concurrently, we have the analyst section of the governance meeting, and that is a tax and policy analyst, Blue Sky Consulting. And they've been going and working with each of our different departments to find out, okay, how much revenue is being brought in through our property taxes, through our TOT, through these various mechanisms. And who's providing local services now? Let's talk about our special service districts, like the water and the sewer and the fire and the community service and the parks and recs. Let's look at what services we have that are working well, what services are not working well. So all those different pieces are being analyzed and looked at. They're also taking that information and comparing it to other municipalities, not only within Sonoma County, but also similarly sized, similar looking areas. So if our sheriff is spending $100 per arrest, which is a completely bogus thing, do not quote me on that. What is being done in Windsor, where they have a contract for sheriff services? What's being done in San Luis Obispo? Other areas that are similar size and similar type. They're also looking at analyzing what options are out there that we either have currently, like community service districts, or that we don't use. Like, would it be helpful to have a municipal council of governments so that all the community service districts were talking together rather than being siloed? Are there ways that we can change some governance rules so that we have more of our revenue coming directly to us? One of the issues that has come up, people have said, oh, the study to find out whether or not we can incorporate. Just to let you know, the state put a pretty big stake in the heart of any incorporations a little while back, which nobody knew about when we started this process. What they did was they said that any change you make, if you incorporate, has to be revenue neutral, which means that, so if our idea was we can incorporate in all the TOT tax that's now going to the county comes directly to us, that is illegal. Instead, what would happen is it has to be revenue neutral, in that only the amount that we're currently getting, we continue to get. Which means that we would have much greater responsibilities, like for the roads to do all the FEMA stuff, but we would have not a dime of money. So that's an interesting poison pill that they put in there. So that's not something that, I mean, it's something that we will have and present in the analysis. But I can tell you, if anybody's going around saying you're trying to incorporate, it's really not the best idea. So with this in mind, we're going to have a review with Supervisor Hopkins of the data on May 8th in order to prepare for the next big community meeting, which will be June 3rd. That meeting will be somewhere between 9:30 and 12, somewhere in there. And the agenda and all the information for that will be going up the week after our meeting with Supervisor Hopkins. So by May 16th, we'll have some preparatory information going out for people. In the meantime, what's going to be done during that meeting is we're going to be reviewing all these big topics that I just mentioned: the fiscal, the tax information, some of the options, some of the governance options. Obviously, it's not a decision-making meeting because it's just an introduction of all these things. A lot of big information. We will have breakout sessions so that people who are interested in particular areas will be able to talk about those particular areas. So it will be a very substantive and important meeting, and it will be at the Guerneville School as we've discussed. And the information about the meeting is up on the website, at least just the date at this point. The date is up there and the information and we have made sure that the survey is still available. So if you want to sign up and you want to get more information, I didn't see that posted. When was that posted?
The website for the governance study is rivergov.com, so rivergov.com. And there's that information now out there, maybe, I don't know why it went up. You can also subscribe, so you can get on that specific list, and then there's also a link to see the first workshop and anything there.
You're just going to spam.
It's really clear on Facebook too. I'm sure it isn't. I will make sure something goes out. We just had a meeting about this anyway, so. And we just agreed on all this stuff. I haven't even seen it. Morning.
And that isn't like.
Morning. Go better for a long day.
Are these meetings public or information?
John, hold on a sec. We'll get that. We're gonna go to council comments and questions first on Mike.
I have a question. Following the project kickoff meeting on the 3rd of June, will that be followed by a 30-day public comment period?
Project kickoff was,
Well, it states
already, this is the second meeting.
a community workshop number 2. My
This community workshop number 2, and yes, there will be.
public comment for 30 days following. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Good deal. Thank you. Because that wasn't stated there. I just wanted to be sure that we.
I mean, is there something they're gonna be commenting on, like? I mean, it's not.
Just as with the first one, we have information, place for commenting online, so
Right.
people can come back to us afterwards. It's not nothing.
Generally speaking,
nothing
with any of this
closes.
outreach, with the third-party consultants, we do have a 30-day public comment period on the presentation.
There will be a third meeting. We have
Right.
contracted with them for 3 major community meetings. In the meantime, I'm going to be attending and I ask you to invite me if you would like to. Small stakeholder meetings like Rio Neato, Friends of Rio Neato, if you'd like to have me come because of their community service district. I'm going to reach out to each of you that are leaders of this so that we can talk within your particular group and see if there are any questions I can answer, any information about the study. And that information ahead of time, because I think that this is going to need more than just a few public meetings. It's going to need drilling down within the community. So we will do this before and after. It'll be kind of continuous at this point from going forward. So that we can have ongoing conversation. The point of this is, and this is not a Brown Act, these are not Brown Act meetings, these are town hall type meetings, so they are public and open to the public and
Are they gonna be informational or public meetings like this is a public meeting? The first one was informational.
as I was saying, we're gonna present the information and then we're gonna have breakout sessions so that people can have conversation.
They're gonna go to little groups again, or is everybody gonna be
They're
able
going to be
to
able
speak and hear everybody?
they're going to go to little groups and then they
Okay.
will have
Informational.
a
So
quick presentation afterwards from each group.
Discussion.
Yeah. So any other council comment? All right. John's already talked. Anyone online?
You said any more public comment?
Yeah, I did.
Thank you. I think it's quite good here, yes, I'd like to make a public comment. We heard the kind of introduction, the preface to this. Oh, well, we had a Latino meeting. Well, that's wonderful. When you give information, let me know you had a meeting on such a day. There were so many people in attendance, like there were 6 people in attendance, and notably perhaps you might mention, oh, notably Mr. Hernandez was there perhaps. In order to convey more useful information, rather than just some generic term that sounds good, but doesn't convey much information. Governance. One term I heard constantly repeated was they. We all know that the use of the word they is like we. It's something we should shun. We should be more specific and identify when we speak. John has asked a question about whether something is informational or there's going to be an actual open forum meeting. We have had show and tell, dog and pony shows in the Veterans Hall, where the community was invited as a public meeting, as part of the process required. Every lecture to the construction of what was going to be discussed was set for them. The community didn't decide, someone else decided for them. And then people broke out into groups. What does that do? That divides. It is a common tactic used
All right,
in order to,
thank you, Lloyd.
for God's sake, you can't even let me finish, huh?
Well, you get.
Well, I mean, I heard you guys go on and ramble. And I'm trying to give you a coherent answer and you shut me out. It's a good move on your part. Thank you.
Any other public comments?
Any comments online?
Okay, thank you, Elise. I think it's been a very good process so far, and people have been included in that, so. For what that was.
One more thing in my staff report is
Yep.
the confluence.
Yeah,
We were working on this for several years and it's also kind of exciting. It's evolved quite a bit from when we started. The Russian River confluence has agreed upon a memorandum of understanding. And that may not sound very exciting, but since I've been working on it for 3 years, the fact that we now have all the lawyers and all the agencies and all the people involved agreeing on a memorandum of understanding is very exciting. It's going to the Board of Supervisors on May 16th. And at that point, this will evolve from being a Sonoma County-led process to the Russian River Confluence being its own organization that is supported by 18 different nonprofits, agencies, all working on water health, water supply, and water climate resilience. In conjunction with the May 16th event, we will also have quite a bit of publicity for our area. NBC is coming into Sonoma County Tourism and we'll be getting information on this. We have press releases going out for each of the different agencies. We have merchandise that is going to be in 5 different stores throughout this little area. We have the Wine Vault, River Queen, Boone, Duncan's Mills. There are a few more. I'm sorry, I don't remember them all. But there will be merchandise going out that people can represent Russian River Respect, lines of T-shirts and things like that. The concept behind the merchandise has always been to be an engagement mechanism that will bring people into the website, that will have videos and information about all sorts of things about the water, ways to volunteer, ways to donate. And this is going to be growing, we hope, we plan into an organization along the lines of Keep Tahoe Blue that has for 50 years done a wonderful job of improving the watershed health. We are really excited that we have a robust relationship now on watershed issues with Mendocino County that we hadn't had before, because that is where the headwaters come from. There are concurrently 2 other organizations that will be origamiing in with the confluence. One is the Russian River Regional Monitoring Project, which has been a project of San Francisco Estuary Institute, and it's all about monitoring and reporting on the health of the river. And that is going to become part of the confluence effort, is part of the confluence effort now. There's a larger organization called the Water Forum that is working specifically on issues of water supply. And they are going to be primarily focusing on the Potter Valley project and making sure that our river doesn't dry, which is pretty important. And the confluence is going to be the stakeholder and the community engagement piece for all these efforts. Because we'll have the one brand or the one watershed putting out information. And so all of the information, these efforts, all these different agencies and all this work being done is going to be coming through the Russian River Confluence, and the Russian River Respect brand will provide ways for people to engage and learn about and contribute to and participate in the Plata watershed. So that's where we are, and May 16th is going to be a big day for me. And
Thank you.
Nick,
Any part, is the confluence going to be working on removing the concrete structures at the mouth of the river and rehabilitating all of that man-made structure that is currently impeding the flow of the river at the mouth?
that is not a current project. However, I could find out if you would send me that in an email. I will look through the confluence partners, because the 18 partners are ones who actually do the work. I'll see if anyone has any work going on about that, and I'll find out.
Yeah, that's gonna be a tough one because of the Coastal Commission and Seafloor.
And isn't that the some kind of water agency, Russian River Estuary Management Project?
Yes.
And they did a big study on that.
Yes,
But they did the study based on the river as it was with the blockage. They have no basis.
it's not a
for that.
simple answer, so I will go find an answer.
And then, are we gonna be, are there gonna be other merchandise that is grammatically correct that I can purchase? Because I can't honestly buy that.
I understand that that's something that you don't enjoy, and no brand everyone likes, but the merchants love it and are buying it, and so not everyone will.
Disappointing.
any public comment on confluence?
Online, now's your chance.
Okay, thanks. Okay, we're gonna move on to our last item, which is consideration of a resolution appreciating of Sonoma County public infrastructure. So all of you, it's in your packet. There's a letter. Or a resolution in the packet. I just got it.
Double sided.
That hopefully you've all had a chance to read. That basically is thanking the road crews that have been out in all of this horrible weather. And breaking their backs to make sure that we are as safe as we possibly can be. And this is just a simple resolution stating that we're grateful for the work that they've done.
I would like to accept the resolution, but we have to have a, because it's a resolution, it has to be a roll call vote.
Yeah, okay. Thanks, Mike.
I like the closing flooded roads, then rescuing motorists who went through and got stuck anyway. It's amazing how many people. Yeah.
There's one sentence that says disaster fatigue is a real for cruising community, just on all time.
Which one is this?
Yeah.
Disaster fatigue is a real for cruising community, so it's to say it is real. I think, so with that word.
So with the word it was.
Third paragraph, last sentence that starts disaster. The A is, I think it's typo. We need to delete the A.
And just a comment from talking to emergency people, they get PTSD from some of the stuff that goes down, like this thing of closing a road and then people go through and die and they have to rescue them, and they really recognizing that these people are getting PTSD. I think is just like disaster fatigue. It falls into the same category, and I don't know whether you would add that in some way or just recognize it.
I don't know if that something we call out. But
Okay,
that's
Well, I
why-
think
that's
we
why-
did. I think the line about the last.
Yeah, exactly. I think,
okay.
We have a motion on the floor.
we have, and do we have public?
We have a
comment?
second.
Yes, we do have a second, but we don't have a public comment. Any public comment on this resolution? Expressing gratitude for the work that the road crew people do.
Very much.
Great.
Anyone online?
Okay, so let's take a roll call.
Okay, roll call.
Just remind me who moved and seconded and
That'd be,
we did not.
oh, I'm sorry, Mike moved
Okay.
and who seconded?
I said a second, I don't know if I was the one.
I think you
Well,
were.
just put Nick down.
Okay, got it, okay.
I think we're all.
And roll call vote. Representative Costick.
Yes.
Representative Levinson. Yes. Representative Roga.
Yes.
Representative Pereira.
Yes.
Representative Van Dyke. Yes. Representative Nichols.
Yes.
Representative Clues. Yes. Alternate Representative Davis. Yes. And Chair Marquez de la Plata.
Yeah,
Resolution passes unanimously.
yay.
Love giving appreciation. That's a delightful thing to
What?
do. Thankful to appreciate.
Okay, so we have a potential, future agenda item on here. We don't have to talk about it now, but if there's anything else that anyone wants potentially on the next agenda, make sure you reach out to Lisa, myself, Elise, Debbie, and we'll make sure that,
What's the date of our next meeting?
it's a month from now.
I know.
Okay, so I would like us to start addressing fire safety.
Hold on, can you guys answer my question when our next meeting is?
Then that be, is it the third Thursday or the second? Is that second? The May 11th, but it looks like.
It's showing us May 11th,
May 11th.
5:30.
Okay, with that, the meeting is adjourned.
Very nice.
Oh. Damn it. Oops.
The 14th.
Yeah.
Thank you for having us, Ben. Never need to go. Julie, what they do more. It wouldn't let you.